The SEC, citing that it's the best college football conference in America, is whining for a new college football playoff format now. In other news, it's Monday. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. Let's tackle the college football playoff format and how the SEC, Greg Sankey, their commissioner, wants it to change now because they're so much better than everybody else. We'll also get into Travis Hunter being better than everybody else. He won the Heisman Trophy and people went berserk. Why? Why is everyone saying that he shouldn't get the trophy? He is the best player in college football. We'll get there. And also, BYU and Colorado in transfer portal trouble. There are a couple teams in the conference that are losing guys, not gaining guys early on in the portal. Should we be worried? If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. Imagine rooting for the SEC. It would be like watching the Star Wars movies and picking out Darth Vader as not just your favorite character, but the guy who could really get behind morally. That's what the SEC has become, the Death Star. And the best part about this Darth Vader Death Star, oh, we're the biggest, the baddest, the most powerful, the most money, is that they seem to find a way to complain about everything. If you were to ask me, Drake, do you think the college football playoff format is perfect? I would, of course, say no. And I would cite very reasonable points, objective points for why that's the case. Why should Arizona State be below Boise State if strength of schedule is such a big thing? And that's why 3-loss SEC teams were in consideration and 2-loss teams got in way over like a 2-loss BYU. Then explain to me where strength of schedule versus wins comes into play. I think those kind of things must be determined by the committee, some sort of criteria for who makes it. Not Greg Sankey going to Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports and saying, oh, Mr. Ross, remember me? It's the commissioner of the SEC. Will you, Mr. National Media Man, help me once again spew my propaganda to all of America? Headline reads, will CFP format change again after consolidation of power leagues? That's the problem. That's the problem. A year ago, consolidation of power leagues wasn't a reason to change the format. No one in America, no one is going, we need to change the college football playoff format because of the leagues, because of the consolidation of those. What? No. We need to change pieces of it that are idiotic. We don't need to change the format because leagues are different now. Greg Sankey says we have a whole different dynamic. This is what Dellinger writes in his Yahoo Sports piece from an interview with Greg Sankey. He says the most recent conference realignment strengthened the Big Ten of the SEC as they absorbed previous brands from the Pac-12 and Big 12. Thank you, Ross. We're seeing the stress points. This is a quote. We're seeing the stress points from Greg Sankey that we knew would be there, but I actually think they're as or more volatile than we thought. What? Now we are a whole different conference dynamic. So what happens? Sankey talking about how the SEC is better. Oh, well, now we've got Oklahoma, now we've got Texas, and we're just better. Better enough that our 9-3 Alabama team lost to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, 6-6 squads. Better enough that a middling team, a team that's going to a bowl game in our conference, Arkansas, lost to an 0-9 Big 12 team, Oklahoma State. By the way, that 9 number, something foreign to the SEC. They don't play 9 games in that conference. What blows my mind is somehow you can go 9-3 across the board with your major college football playoff contenders, then come to the table and complain. That becomes like timeout. You're better now? You walked away from that season and your takeaway was it's a whole different dynamic, dude. The SEC is in a league of its own. We're in a field of our own. We're going to figure this thing out. We're going to drive the car here. You crashed the car like 6 times. And I get it. The Big 12's car is not a fancy limousine. We had Neo at our halftime show playing with a kid from Iowa who's tooting on a trombone over there. That was kind of weird. But to come out of this college football season where, quite frankly, you stunk. Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, who in this article had cited were left out for Clemson, those teams should have been left out for Clemson. Sans maybe South Carolina. Clemson goes and wins the ACC championship. I don't mind. Like, you go to the NFL, and guess what happens in the NFL? Guess what? Division winners go to the playoffs. You say, well, they didn't have a record that would go. Buddy, the whole, there's regionality to college football. We can't go out of 2024 and say, you know what, take the regionality away. No more conference champions. Ha 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 ha. All SEC. Ha 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 ha. Strength of schedule is the only thing that matters. And can I pose a question here? Who died and decided the SEC is the only league that gets a strength of schedule patch? Truly. Who determines strength of schedule here? When a bunch of teams are weak but perceived strong, that perception is what gets you your nice little number next to your SOS at the end of the year. It's all perception. It's all where that team was preseason, or the fact that, the AP poll ranked them that one time at number 24 in the country, so certainly there must be something here. No. I do not believe that we are in an era of college football, especially as the Big 12 is signing contracts with TNT. My brother in Christ, that's a pretty big deal. But the Big 12 is putting football on the network that's carried the NBA and is in essence dropping the NBA and picking up Big 12 football. But the big SEC, the mighty SEC, comes out and says, well, we had a bunch of 3-loss teams that were treated unfairly, and we think they are very good. Can you please change things for us? We have money. At a Sports Business Journal forum, this article continues, held in Las Vegas, College Football Playoff Executive Director Rich Clark was asked about potential changes to the CFP. He said, we're going to present options to the commissioners, and they're going to have discussions about that. It would be, here's the good part. This would be a 10-league, 10-commissioner conversation, and it must be unanimous for them to make any changes. Should there be some changes? Sure. Should a conference champion get an automatic bye? At this point, I don't really care. Is it going to screw us over? Is it going to screw over Arizona State, who is underranked? If they take away these buys, they'll be the 11 seed, the 12 seed, and it shouldn't be that way. Yeah, that's likely the case moving forward if we move to a format where the conference champion doesn't get a bye. But should Boise State get a bye? I don't think so. So I, too, think there are some stupidities here. There are some idiots in the room. But the SEC, all high and mighty, they want it to just be them. What's new? And what sucks is the Baylor athletic director was in the College Football Playoff Committee war room. There are Big 12 representatives there who have just been stronghold. Darth Vader's in the room. So you sit down and don't give your opinion. That's what I want to know is, where were they in these conversations? Why don't they speak up? Brett Yormark, save us. You're our only hope. Star Wars reference. Coming up, Travis Hunter won the Heisman. Is that bad? On Locked On Big 12. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show, oh yeah, you best bet. Give it to me. Brought to you by FanDuel. Boom! Didn't see that one coming, did ya? FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. That's exactly right. NFL action, college football action. You can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets in the NFL all in one place. Get a hunch in the middle of a game. Check the latest stats and view live play-by-play and so much more, and place a live bet. Go to FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Join FanDuel, download the app, and do it today. Trust me, I like FanDuel a lot. Travis Hunter won the Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy, and the immediate reaction from most of the national media was that somehow this was wrong. You understand, he is a top 5 corner in the country, a top 5 wide receiver in the country, and I've got a real wild secret for you. He's the same guy. All these graphics like, well, the Genty kid is first in this, and first in this, and first in this. We've got a kid who is the Heisman Trophy. Can I pause? The Heisman Trophy goes to whom? The best player in all of college football. Hornung, Biletnikoff, Bednarik, All-American, Heisman. Travis Hunter is the best player in all of college football. Any coach, you say, hey, would you like to have a top 5 DB, top 5 wide receiver in America, #1 player in the country coming out of high school, or would you like the best running back in the country, who played against Nevada, Portland State, Oregon State, San Diego State. They're going to take the kid who's played a higher level of college football and who's elite at two different positions. The narrative that's been fed to you that Travis Hunter is mid on both sides of the ball is a national narrative that I don't understand. It's a distaste. It's a dislike for Deion Sanders. And can I tell you, I wasn't buying. I have had to eat crow, foot in mouth. I wasn't buying the Deion Sanders thing at the beginning of the season. I thought that was a 4-8 football team. I was completely wrong. But there was one thing that I said from day one. Travis Hunter is a Heisman candidate. Travis Hunter deserves, even Shedeur Sanders deserves to be in New York, and thankfully he was. Travis Hunter deserves the Heisman Trophy. Whether you hate Deion or love Deion, whether you think it's a shtick or that he's a good ball coach, that should all go away in talking about the best player in college football, whose name is Travis Hunter. Does that mean that Genty's a bad player? No. But this is a great tweet. How many yards would Barry Sanders have rushed for against Georgia Southern, Oregon, okay, Portland State, Oregon State, Nevada, San Diego State, Utah State, Washington State, Hawaii, San Jose State, UNLV, and Wyoming? Whole lot of states in there, and most of those aren't even real states. And that's what we're giving. Portland State. Cam Scatterbo, is a better running back. Cam Scatterbo with that schedule would prove the same thing. Do we play that game? Should this be a game of, well, your schedule was easier? I don't really think so. But there shouldn't be an argument. There shouldn't be an argument against Travis Hunter being the best player in college football. Lendale White tweets, "It's crazy how football has been played for over 100 years, and we have never witnessed or heard about somebody doing what Travis Hunter has done, and yet we sit here and debate who is the Heisman. I'm lost." Barrett Sallee tweeting that he would have given it to Genty over Hunter. So many analysts tweeting that they got it wrong. This tweet says, Travis Hunter equals the most overrated and overhyped Heisman winner of all time. I challenge you, go back to last season, the LSU quarterback. What? That's one of the weakest Heisman trophies ever. And that you're telling me that this kid didn't deserve it? Kev says on Twitter, being a top 5 wide receiver and a top 5 cornerback at the same time is more valuable than being number 1 else anywhere on the field. Love Ashton Genty, as we all should. This isn't an I hate Ashton Genty speech. It's a Ashton Genty's good, not as good. Charles Woodson couldn't even touch Travis Hunter's season. The right guy won. Michael Harriet. Travis Hunter became the first HBCU player to win the Heisman hours after Jackson State won the first HBCU national title, which is months before Shedeur will likely be picked number 1 in the draft. We talked all about how Deion Sanders had ruined college football. Now he's brought a Heisman Trophy winner to the Big 12. And my thought was I could get on here and happy Monday, everybody. The Big 12 has a Heisman. But instead, we have this. The national media wants to skew that, Travis Hunter's mom called him a mistake, a big mistake. No, she didn't. Travis Hunter's girlfriend is a gold digger. Why is that the focal point here? Deion Sanders is more of he loves Travis Hunter more than his own kids. What about this? What about an elite level player who's elite at 2 positions, playing 1,300 snaps this year, going in front of America, and accepting the trophy for the best player in college football because he was? What about that calls for the level of scrutiny that has come from every direction from so-called professionals? Do you understand, as a BYU fan, as a Texas Tech fan, as a West Virginia fan, as a UCF fan, what just happened? The Big 12 won the Heisman Trophy in a year where the SEC did not have a single player finish in the top 10 in voting. Our conference has the best player in college football. And right up there with him, Cam Scatterbo. And right up there with him, Shedeur Sanders. That should be celebrated across the board by every Big 12 fan that exists. Underdog stories are fun, but there's an underdog element to this. You may think that was the stupidest statement you've ever heard, me saying something underdog about Travis Hunter. But he went to Jackson State. The kid transferred up from he trusted Deion Sanders, who had not been a Division I football head coach. Is it the ultimate underdog story? Of course not. But there is a huge, strong element to this where things could have gone south real quick for Travis Hunter, and they didn't. He goes and wins the Heisman Trophy at Colorado. They don't have Heisman Trophy winners at Colorado. John Root tweets, Travis Hunter is the media's Heisman. Ashton Genty is the people's Heisman. There's only one trophy, and it goes to the best player in college football. And I'm sorry that a propaganda machine has taught you that Travis Hunter is somehow mid at two positions when that's not the case. He's instead elite at two positions, and any coach in the country would take that guy. Will he go first overall to the NFL draft? I don't think so. Why? Because you probably can't use him on both sides. Moho, it'd be crazy if you could. You probably can't use him on both sides of the ball in the National Football League. But we're not talking about who projects the best, who's going to be the best NFL player. We're talking about who capitalized during their years in college football. Travis Hunter. He allowed like 2 touchdowns as a DB. People keep posting the Dorian Singer touchdown he allowed. That was the second touchdown he allowed all season. It was in game 9, game 10. That's what we want to nitpick? Watch football. That's what I'm begging you to do. BYU and Colorado are in portal trouble, possibly. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team, and it is every day. Today's show is brought to you by the College Football Playoffs. It is that time of year. You best bet football is at its pinnacle. And the new College Football Playoff, with a newly expanded 12-team format, is guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the College Football Playoff begins December 21st, starting with the College Football Playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern. Leading into our first matchup, the SMU Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon Eastern. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the College Football Playoff presented by Allstate, live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. That's right. Watch the College Football Playoff. Watch it live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max starting December 21st. This College Football Playoff on TNT and Max. Is there a serious portal problem with certain Big 12 schools, namely BYU and Colorado? If you go in and look at the 24/7 transfer portal rankings, you'll find that Texas Tech, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, those are the 4 major leaders right now in the portal game. They've gotten in quick. They've jumped on big names. They've grabbed big players. If you look at BYU, Colorado, West Virginia, UCF, they're at the bottom of the barrel in this conference. And I take a time out and I pause to ponder why. BYU has 1 commit, and he's not ranked. Like, he's not even a 3-star. Colorado has 1 commit. BYU has 0 commits. West Virginia has 0 commits. And we can go ahead and take the Mountaineers out of this. They just hired a new head coach. They took a long time to do it, and he's only now getting his coordinator set in place and attacking the transfer portal to build his team for next season. But why is Colorado, who's supposed to be this transfer portal machine and has lost a handful, I think it's 6, 7, maybe 8 guys right now to the portal, why does Colorado only have 1 commitment? And it's a kid that doesn't exist on the internet coming from Louisiana Monroe. BYU, whose basketball team attacked the portal so hard, and who I've heard rumors, hey, join this online fan forum, join this forum, pay this $10 a month, and you can find recruiting news for BYU. Transfer portal news, big news coming, but still 0 commits. Here's where I sit with both of these schools in the transfer portal. If you're looking at this thinking, shoot, this isn't good, calm down. Not only are we early in the transfer portal phase, I want to bring something up that I'll bring up the rest of the offseason. Colorado, Deion Sanders, he has had time to become a destination place. Boulder is a destination. He's a destination coach. I know that there are those out there, and I may even pose the question myself later on. Is Deion Sanders' job in limbo? Like, is he considering leaving Colorado? I think the answer is unequivocally no. He's going to stay there. There are many who will ask, so few transfer portal moves. Is that because there's something we're missing here? Is there an opportunity in the NFL? Would he explore it? Do players want to avoid a possible coaching change? I don't believe that's the case. For BYU, you look at the basketball team again, and you say, okay, the money's been poured in here, NIL, and there's this big focus, and we want to win, so why don't they have new guys? it to me is very similar for both of these schools. Colorado has given you its culture. Colorado has set its culture to become a destination. BYU has told you its culture, just signed its head coach to a $1 billion deal for the rest of his life. That's just going to be a lifetime guy. Why not? We've seen you win at the highest levels. We've seen you get to the doorstep of a Big 12 championship game. There is going to be, and again, I'll mention this the entire offseason, positive attrition. When I look at BYU's transfers out, like the Jackson Bowers kid was supposed to be a really good tight end. The Crew Wakely kid, I would have, he was a contributor, would have loved to know why he exited, but everybody else, okay. I'm not too torn up. For Colorado, what they lost from a production standpoint, I'm not too torn up. There is positive attrition. There will be players in your locker room that can't take it, that can't handle it. The pressure is too much. Like a Tyler Johnson or Dan Hayes. Those are kids who entered the transfer portal a couple of days ago and could have been 4-star players who didn't pan out. I'm very confident that despite the amount, it's 15 now transfers who have, wow, you update that and the number just jumps. 15 players who entered the transfer portal for Colorado. Deion Sanders owns the portal. For BYU, those 6 players, only one I'm really scratching my head on. And the rest, I'd say, chill pill, breather. Everybody's good. You will look at Texas Tech. You will look at even Houston now. You'll look specifically at Kansas. Iowa State landing some big commits already through the transfer portal. I think the addition to be able to go get 4-star Chase Sowell was huge. They grabbed 2 legit wide receivers and brought them to campus. That is going to be a massive piece of them. Xavier Townsend is one of them who is transferring intra-conference. But if you start to compare yourself on December 16th to those universities, you'll spiral into this online chat board dialogue about how, we're not hitting the transfer portal strong enough. We don't have it still. And I want to go back to that word that I mentioned earlier, the word culture. Deion Sanders, though I said all off season long, I'm not sure if he can do it. I don't know if I believe in it. I'm not sure if this is the guy who's going to be able to win at Colorado long term, has said, I'm bringing my bags. Day one, I'm bringing my bags, and they're Louis. And he did, and he lined them up, and he met with the kids, and he said, you're not a good fit for us. I'm sorry, we're moving in a different direction. We'll see you later. Best of luck. And because of what he did, Colorado went 9-3 this season. BYU has always been pretty tight with the transfer portal stuff. They're not a school who's going to grab 15, 20 guys. They went 10-2 this past season after last year going 5-7 and missing a bowl game. They didn't freak out. They didn't press the red button. They didn't say we have to overhaul the entire roster, buy a new offensive line, somehow make this thing work next season with players who didn't play here this year and have college football experience. No. Instead, Kalani Sitake said, if we take our in-house resources, our in-house players, keep the unit together, a short bit of positive attrition with the kids that we don't need, with the kids who aren't contributors do move out, we will be a college football playoff contender. We will be a Big 12 contender, and it worked. Colorado said we need a new offensive line. The focus is offensive line. Last season, maybe that's what I'm getting at. Last season, same deal for Colorado. Kids left. It looked like Deion was possibly losing control. Oh no. How on earth will they survive after all of these kids want to enter the transfer portal and leave? 41 kids left Colorado last year. 43 came in. Do you understand how absurd that is? 15? Far cry from 41. This is an establishment of 2 head coaches who know what they want at their universities and will stick to that to a T. Does that hurt guys like Mike Gundy or Kyle Whittingham who've had that same approach? Yeah, maybe it will in a couple decades. But as of today, the kids who have left your program, Colorado, BYU, probably needed to, and you're probably better off for it. Is that harsh? Am I being harsh? Like if you're a parent of a kid in the transfer portal who's leaving BYU and you hear that, you're like, oh, well, not my kid. I was in the circumstances. I'm not enough to, maybe. But these 2 programs have shown us they're a machine. They can win based on how the head coach wants to win. If he does it his way, it will work. And for some reason or another, opportunity, culture, fit. If the transfer kid didn't work out, and the head coach does work out, this is probably for the better of your favorite college football team. The only area in which I could truly see this backfiring is the off chance that Deion Sanders does leave Colorado. I don't foresee that happening. I do not believe that his exit is imminent as so many predicted. But if that happens, if that occurs, then we will see 45, 50 kids possibly enter the transfer portal. I'm going to say something controversial here in a second. It is, to me, a culture run by Deion, not necessarily run by the university. And therein lies the controversial take that I have. Kids aren't playing for the school as much as they are the coach in almost every scenario. Most every kid who plays for the Texas Tech Red Raiders, 95% who plays for Colorado, 95% who play for USC, didn't grow up a fan of that school. What got them there was the head coach or the head recruiter or some position coach. They brought them into the fold. That's who they're loyal to. You see the Marshall coach leaves, his entire roster follows. You were there. Yeah, it's cool to represent the thing across your chest, but at the end of the day, what got you there wasn't that word, that name. Maybe it was the culture in part, but it was the coach you fell in love with. That first piece was, I trust this guy. That's the case for Deion Sanders. For Kalani Sitake, maybe less so because BYU is such a staple institution. But I do not believe that Colorado or BYU are in transfer portal trouble just because of the optics right now. And I do think that if Deion Sanders stays, you're just fine. If he goes, we'll have a much different conversation because I believe many of these kids committed to play for Deion Sanders. But I don't see that. He just showed you he can win. He got close to winning the Big 12 title. I think he comes back and he vies for one next year. I hope so, at least. He gave us a damn Heisman Trophy winner. That's a pretty big deal. Coming up tomorrow, I think TJ Pidner is going to join the show. Whoa! Talk about two guys who know a lot about poppy fun stuff, how to build a title. You know what I'm saying? This has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose grande.